Happy New Year and welcome to another episode of the Crotchety Old Men podcast. Joining me in the studio today is all my comrades, George Crumley, Paul Clemens. Top of the day to you, gentlemen.
Top of the day to you, Smitty. How you doing?
Man, I'm great. Hey, we made it to 2024. Looking forward to great things this year. And so everything is lovely over on this side. George, how about yourself?
Man, I can't complain at all, Smitty. It's just like you say, it was a great time to be here and to be able to share some more information, to continue to provide information, education, exposure, and opportunity for our audience. Looking forward to a lot of new topics for this year. And hey, then let's just jump right on into it.
Hey, how about it? Let's kick this thing on off.
Yep. So today, Smitty, I thought it'd be talk about long-term care. We're of that age where, we may be looking at how we're going to get into those, what they call real golden years. And if we, get any type of serious illness or we're not able to do some certain things, who's going to take care of us? So I thought this would be a good subject to talk about today.
Yes, sir. I guess perhaps maybe we should share with our listeners exactly what is long-term care. And to my understanding, long-term care is an insurance product that typically applies to people who are up in age, in their 70s or 80s or what have you, that cannot take care of the basic necessities of life, whether they be at home, healthcare aid situation, or if they're living in an assisted living situation of sorts. And so it's an insurance that covers the costs that Medicare and I think Medicaid does not cover. Am I close in that area, George?
You are correct. And I think just to add on to that, why was health care started in the first place? It was so that people would not erode their retirement savings on nursing home care. And so it was later expanded to in-home care. So that's kind of how long-term care started. Because like I said, when we get up in age, who's going to take care of us? Our kids, or can we stay in the house? Can we function, in the house by ourselves? So those are the kind of things that you have to look at. So I think that's why long-term care was invented in the first place, or started in the first place by different insurance companies. But I think what's brought it to my attention is that over the years, most people don't even look at long-term care till they're probably in their 50s. I know that's when I initially looked at it myself for me and my wife. And but when you look at it in your 50s, does that really give you a long ramp up, from an insurance perspective to save the type of money that will allow, benefits to last you until you're late 80s and 90 years old? And I think with most insurance companies, that may be what the issue is, and why they've had to change their focus on providing this particular policy.
Well, they've had to change their focus because they have found that the age factor for people is that they've started living longer, and because they've started living longer, the policy was not covering these issues. So, I'm not sure if the policy, in my opinion, is still good to invest in or not, to tell you the truth. Or, I was thinking in terms of the HSA, which is your health benefit out of your health insurance, where your money is put into a pot so that anything that's out of pocket you can pay for. So I'm wondering if that's going to help out as well.
No, that
This long.
wouldn't be that wouldn't apply here. Long-term care is specifically for um, services that will be provided through like I say, in-home, would be nursing care, someone coming in and helping you perform some of the daily functions like bathing and eating, or if you're put into an actual home, then those services would be provided by a full staff. But as far as your current Medicaid, Medicare, those don't cover long-term care. And I think here again, that's why insurance companies started selling this. But you hit the nail on the head when you said, can insurance companies solvent enough to continue to provide this type of coverage based on, right after going through COVID, and you got all these baby boomers, reaching the ripe old age, and they're getting a lot of policies in, so it's a lot to bear. So let me give you an example. Last year alone, insurance providers paid more than $13 billion to cover 345,000 long-term care claims, according to industry figures. So that's a lot of claims, and that's a lot of money. So I'm not sure if insurance companies can continue to provide that type of service, because here again, I think what Smitty said at the beginning is a lot of insurance companies, let me back up. A lot of people aren't buying these policies. So if a lot of people aren't buying the policies, then that here again doesn't provide a lot of money to, meet the claims, even of the people that have purchased these policies.
Yeah, well, think about it like this. If the average long-term care insurance policy for women, I think it pays like 3.7 years, right? And then for men, it's even less than that, 2.2 years. But if people start buying these policies at age 50 or 60, hell, that's 10 years right there. So you got 10 years of premium for 2 years of benefits. Well, that dog don't hunt anyway. So I believe what happens at the insurance company actuaries, they messed up. All right. They bit off more than they could chew.
Right.
Looking in the future, thought those premiums that they collected was going to be sufficient once they invested in them in, other things that insurance companies invest in. Now, to George's point, now you have this deluge of claims with all these baby boomers. And so it just rocked the boat. All right. And so moving forward with the generation X, Ys, and Zs is coming behind the baby boomers, hey, they ain't buying it. Okay, so they're not buying the policies. If you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, even 50s in today's age, you're not thinking about that long-term care. So to that end, I see long-term care policies probably have reached their demise. And so what's the alternative?
Well, before we get into the alternative, and we've kind of talked about what it looks like from the provider perspective, but let's kind of look at it from the consumer perspective. And then let's talk about alternatives, because, from a consumer perspective, if I bought this policy here again, am I going to be able to use it? So here I have an example. For 35 years, 5 brothers paid premiums on long-term care insurance for their now 91-year-old mother, only to find out that it does not cover in-home health care. So here again, the policy doesn't fit, the need. So, this particular person wants to stay at home. And why do we want to stay at home? Obviously, the surroundings, your friends, your familiarity with your own home, as opposed to being put in a home for coverage. But check this out. They paid $4,500 a month in policy premiums. So, I mean, even to begin with, this stuff was very, very expensive.
That's just,
and to get man, I'd be pissed.
That's ridiculous. I'd be more than pissed.
I'm not for shacking up, but doggone it, after 70, it's time to find you somebody. Go shoot, bump that. Find you somebody to stay with you, to roll you over, feed you, or brush your teeth, or whatever. But $4,500 a month, you'll starve hell trying to get to an old age for talking about some long-term care. That's
Either,
freaking
either
ridiculous.
that or either that or you'll be eating cat food. And not only that, to your point, Gary, whoever you get with at 70, they better be younger.
Yeah, well, these young women they ain't too good on that cooking and cleaning thing, man.
No, they're
So,
not at all.
so I'm old school, man. Give me some old lady. We ain't got to do nothing but sit there and breathe on the mirror, fog the mirror. If you needed me to turn you over, I'll roll you over, and if I need you to roll me over, roll me over. All right, but heck, the long-term care insurance, with all jokes aside, y'all, we can see right now, fellas, be it from a consumer perspective or not, for consumers specifically, it's just not a good deal. All right. I don't see that being a good deal because right now you have so many seniors that are already, having challenges financially in some instances because they're taking care of grandkids, or you got some seniors that are still working. And so they can't afford any long-term care insurance at $4,500 a month, even at $450 a month. That's atrocious because many of them are paying that for medication. Heck, you got some medicines out here that's costing more than that. So,
That's true.
yeah,
And some of the medicines we're talking about are common everyday medicines for the diabetic or for the person that's suffering from hypertension. And that's one thing I wanted to put on the table by me being in the healthcare industry. How does that affect our black communities? We're adversely affected 10 times more than any other community in the country or even in the world for that matter. So how does the black community address the coverage issue? And that's a big question for me.
it's an easy one. They don't.
True.
Well, that's just it. You have to think about it like this. I mean, would your kids want you to move in with them when you get, 87 years old and you're able to get around and not able to get around and perform some of the functions?
Heck to the no.
And it also depends on how crotchety we are at that particular time and age.
I know I'm
So,
going to
yeah.
be. And no, George, no, hell to the no. I am not looking forward, or will I be living with my kids? No.
So what's the alternative?
I got a woman.
Okay. So for those that don't have a woman, what's the alternative?
Get you a woman.
Well, I don't know, Smitty, because that woman may have to work every day. So I don't know if that's necessarily the answer.
Get you a woman.
If she's younger, she's gonna have to work anyway.
Hey,
right. That's what I say. She's gonna have to work. So if she
hasn't reached retirement age yet.
Right. So if she's working, how's she gonna work and take care of you also?
See, PC still thinking about pimping, man. I ain't talking about pimping. I'm talking about getting you a woman, or if you're a female, get you a male. When you get age, you're a certain age anyway, one of your spouses deceased or what have you, all you want is some companionship. All right. And so if you're trying to stay in your own home, I'm going right back to this, y'all. You want to, of course, the first thing, if you are married, stay married, doggone it. But if you're not, then the other alternative for single people is to hook up with somebody. Otherwise, you're going to be one of them guys. This guy saw a joke on, I think it was TikTok or whatever, and it says going to be a lot of guys sitting up in them nursing homes with one of them young nurses. They skinning and grinning at them. But hey, that person, you pushing that buzzer and stuff, by the time they come to roll you over, man, shucks, you dead. And you don't want to be in that situation. So the alternative, if you don't have an insurance, I look at it like this. You guys have heard of that insurance for vehicle maintenance. I forgot, they come on late night TV, and I forgot what it called, that, you pay into this fund. And if you have one of those catastrophic engine problems or something in your car, they're going to come fix it. Well, by the time you need that care for that car, you done put all that money into that policy, and then it comes up, there's a clause where, we don't cover wheel alignments or whatever. I see long-term care being similar to that. You can't afford it, and then the little bit that you can afford, they're going to find out a reason why it's not applicable to your situation. That's why the insurance companies are probably deciding not to sell it anymore because it's not profitable, nor is it profitable in terms of helping the consumer.
Now, George, you mentioned something about a hybrid insurance where they're combining life insurance with the long term care insurance, and I'm wondering how does that become a benefit if the long term health care insurance isn't working in the first place?
We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Gary Smith of the Crotchety Old Men podcast. Are you looking for ways to create generational wealth on a passive income basis? Then reach out and grab a copy of my new book, 5 Keys to Creating Passive Income with Commercial Real Estate. It's available now at Amazon.com. Again, that's the 5 Keys to Creating Passive Income with Commercial Real Estate.
Well, I mean, if you've got a hybrid plan, and let's kind of talk about that, back to, what are you actually going to do here? Because I think even though you guys are talking this, get me a woman, get me a man, that's not the reality for a large number of the population. Because if it was, then there would not be homes with a bunch of folks living in them with full staff taking care of them every day. And I know because I've visited people that are in these types of care facilities. And also I know that, when my father, late in 80s, had cancer and he needed full-time care, me, my brother, and my sister had to make the sacrifice of providing that care. Even though we were working every day, we still had to do it. So I hear what you guys are saying, but I don't think that's reality. So in looking at it in reality perspective, yeah, I mean, what do? I think insurance companies have now come up with a hybrid program. One is they'll sell you an insurance policy, and the first 10 years of that policy, you'll pay a certain amount, which will go towards long-term care. So if you don't use it, then it will turn into just regular insurance, a death benefit, which would go to your estate. So that's one way of looking at it. So that provides you with a certain amount of money to use for either in-home care or, in a home to provide, living expenses for you, because it's very costly. I mean, these you said $4,500 a month to pay a premium, but the cost to live in a facility, a care facility, is probably between $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 a month. It's very expensive. So that type of hybrid plan is probably an option for some. There's another hybrid policy out here, which is through an annuity, which I just took out. So basically, once I enable the annuity, say for example, it's paying me $1,000 a month. If I'm not able to do any of two of the five functions, which would be bathing, dressing, eating, getting back and forth to the toilet, getting in and out of bed, it will pay me 2 times the amount that I would be getting on a monthly basis. So if it's paying me $1,000, it will now pay me $2,000. So those are 2 examples of hybrid types of programs. And obviously the third type would be, self savings. That would be you basically save a certain amount of money every month yourself while you're in your firm earning years to provide, that type of money for care, when you get to that age.
Yeah. I guess it's like what we say in commercial real estate, is like kicking the can down the road. All right. You taking money out of your pocket today for a conceived need tomorrow, and that works if you're working. But for seniors who are already on a fixed income and in most cases are not working, I don't know what their alternative would be other than what I described earlier. So sounds like what we're really talking about here is for younger people who, while they have the accumulation phase, and that's pretty much where they are in an accumulation phase, whether you're saving up for a house, saving up for long-term care, or you're saving up for whatever, then you have to have that enough time to accumulate those funds. Number two, you're going to have enough time and hopefully enough acumen to find an investment that's going to yield a high enough interest, whereas that is going to make some sense. Meaning that if you're not earning at least 7, 8, maybe 10% per year on those funds, then you're pissing in the wind, because inflation is going to eat up every dollar. The dollar cost averaging, and I can go on and on and on with that. That's going to work against you. So at the time when you really need the care the most, you're still not going to have enough money.
You're right, Smitty. And, as you were talking, I was thinking, here going back to commercial real estate, which we talk about on a regular basis. Commercial real estate will pay you 20 to 30 years out in the future. And here again, that makes it look like a better investment, because now if you have commercial property, as well as your other investments, that could secure your future, for long-term care. So that could be another option.
Oh, absolutely. And not just commercial real estate. And this year, you ladies and gentlemen, to our audience out there, we got to also get in a mindset of business, buying businesses. All right. And this is not the episode for, but certainly we're going to talk more about it in 2024, because that's another stream of revenue. All right. There's a lot of baby boomers right now, because their children or what have you, they're ready to retire. Okay. They're ready to go ahead and live those golden years or what have you. But either the kids don't want to take over the business, whether it be a funeral home or a pawn shop or a plumbing business, whatever it is. And so now what they would like to do is be able to sell that property, or that business, I should say, and go on and do something else. Well, that business is going to generate revenue. All right. And there's a lot of passive type businesses out there, service businesses out there. But that, along with, like you said, George, your investments and commercial real estate, if you own some real estate, if you own a portfolio of houses and they're all paid for and they're generating cash flow, there's your long-term health plan. So in essence, what we're all talking about here is what's been the core theme of this podcast all along, is for you to invest your money wisely. Whether you're investing in insurance, we talked about it on this program before, investing in life insurance, whether it's precious metals, whether you're buying property, gold, whatever, something that's going to generate a consistent return. Whereas that in your elder years, that you can make choices, or you have some options. Because without those options, you're just dependent upon the government and your job, and neither one of those are reliable.
Yes, a passive income stream.
Yes, sir.
I mean, that's what it is. That's what it is. We have to prepare for the future. And, like we kind of make a joke out of it, but, somebody's going to have to take care of us when we get old. If we plan on living for a long time, at some point, whether it's a 2, 3, 4 year period, if it's a year period, whatever, we're going to need some assistance, and how it's paid for is something we have to prepare for at some time in our life.
Yep.
True that.
And so,
it's interesting because, people think of that, and they're preparing for everything else, and that slips by the wayside. And that's probably why these insurance policies were, rolled out in the first place. But as we talked earlier, they're unsustainable because of just the numbers, pure numbers.
Gentlemen, disability can be far more expensive than death. Heck, you only die once, okay, and then you're up out of here. Okay, and when you check out, so does your money go with you, all right, unless you have done some of the things that we talk about on our podcast. But with this disability, I mean, anybody can come just disabled with a blink of an eye. Where you're going to lead that long-term care. So long-term care does not necessarily mean that you're 80 or 90 years old. There's people all day long having car accidents that need long-term care because they're no longer able. I see a lot of younger folks because they don't take care of themselves now, having strokes and stuff. They need long-term care because some of them are so incapacitated that they either can't walk, can't talk, can't brush their teeth, can't feed themselves. All those things, George, that you named, there's some people that's younger than us suffering from those right now that's in those homes. No provision for long-term care. And sooner or later, whether it's Medicaid or Medicare, they're going to be put out.
Well, that's a subject for a different day, but that Medicare, no, or is it Medicaid? Which one is the hospital? I think it's Medicaid for your hospital.
I think so.
I mean, that's only going to pay if you reach a certain income level. So that's a different story for a different day. But that's another challenge that people may not think about because they may think that one of those will, help them through these times. But if your income is at a certain level, it's not going to kick in. So,
and you know what, George? Add to that, if your assets, because as my understanding is that Medicaid looks at your net worth. What are your assets? Your income may be zero, but if you're sitting on a ton of money or equity in a house, or you're sitting on some fancy cars and stuff, well, they look at that as that you have some assets. So your net worth is going to be a little higher than that threshold. So in order to qualify for Medicaid, you almost got to be dead, at least dead broke financially.
That's right.
Not only that, but they take if you qualify for long-term care, they'll take your assets. You'll have to sell a house and you have to liquidate assets because at that point you're a ward of the state.
Mm-hmm.
That's like I said, that's a podcast for another day. But then you have to look at what it's going to do for your spouse. If you still have a spouse, if you're in that situation, how does that work for them? So those are a lot of things that you have to think about. And I think we've kind of, covered and hopefully enlightened our audience as to, some other additional things that they may need to look at as they plan for their future. And that's what we're all about here on the Crotchety Old Men, is giving information and educating our audience as to what's out there, what you got to look out for, and what you need to prepare for to live a full life, a happy life, and a quality of life. So, hey, you guys have done it again, put out some great information. So who's going to carry us out of here with some good old words of wisdom?
PC.
I think I've got one that really fits for the discussion that we've had today, and it goes something like this. How far you go in life depends on your being tender with the young, compassionate with the aged, sympathetic with the striving, and tolerant of the weak and strong. Because someday in your life, you will have been all of them.
That's about right. That's about right. And as we always say on the Crotchety Old Man podcast, if you didn't know,
now you know.
You know.
Peace.
All right. Peace.